Cheating is not only a serious offense, but a violation of the sport's integrity, and the UFC has seen its fair share of controversy over the years, from using illegal substances to breaking the rules mid-fight. These incidents have not only damaged reputations, but also brought to light the importance of fair play and ethical conduct in combat sports. In this video, we'll have an in-depth look at some of the most scandalous cheating incidents in UFC history. So buckle up and get ready to dive into it. But before that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button so you get notified whenever we post. Number 10. George Saint-Pierre vs. BJ Penn. Okay, let's be clear. George Saint-Pierre was not at fault for this. Rather, his cornerman Phil Nurse should take the blame. In between rounds of his title match against BJ Penn at UFC 94, Nurse was observed putting Vaseline over GSP's face and then his back, which is not allowed. While watching the fight, it appeared that Penn was having a hard time gaining any sort of bottom-up control over Saint-Pierre. Following the match, Penn and his team asked the Nevada State Athletic Commission to look into the incident. Vaseline application had nothing to do with the fight's outcome, according to the commission, which conducted the Greasegate inquiry and hearing. Number 9. Anderson Silva vs. Nick Diaz. After Silva's unanimous decision victory over Nick Diaz in 2015, it was discovered that Silva had tested positive for anabolic steroids in a pre-fight random out-of-competition test, and then again in a subsequent test for an illicit substance. Silva denied using any sort of performance-enhancing substances. The athlete responded to claims that he had used performance-enhancing drugs by asserting that the samples used for his test had been tainted with Viagra. The Nevada State Athletic Competition did not trust him, despite his assertions. He was thus given a severe punishment that included a year-long ban and a hefty $380,000 fine. His triumph over Diaz was also converted to a no contest, removing any prior documentation of his success. Number 8. Antonio Margarito vs. Shane Mosley. Antonio Margarito was having his hands wrapped before his fight with Shane Mosley. Nazim Richardson, Mosley's trainer, observed a plaster-like substance being applied to the combatant's hands. Margarito's hands were re-wrapped upon Richardson's request. Even though Margarito ultimately lost the fight, a hearing was nevertheless held to address the incident that occurred before the match. Margarito and Javier Capetillo, the trainer who wrapped the fighter's hands, both had their boxing license suspended for a year despite their claims of ignorance. Shane Mosley talked about his fight against Antonio Margarito and the Mexican's controversial bandage, in which the California State Athletic Commission authorities verified that he was wearing a cast. Mosley added, "Margarito knew he was wearing casts on his hands." Number 7. TJ Dillashaw vs. Henry Cejudo. TJ Dillashaw, the UFC bantamweight champion, challenged Henry Cejudo, the flyweight champion, in a super fight in 2019, hoping to become the third person to win titles in 2 weight classes. However, Dillashaw lost the bout by TKO in just 30 seconds. But Dillashaw's worst was yet to come. He tested positive for recombinant human erythropoietin, or EPO, a hormone that boosts the body's production of red blood cells. It was discovered months later. He said that the reason for using this strategy was that he had become anemic as a result of dramatic weight loss to 125 pounds. Speaking with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience MMA Show podcast, Dillashaw told Rogan that he's still having a hard time accepting the loss, and puts the blame squarely on the shoulders of the inexperienced referee. Number 6. Conor McGregor vs. Dustin Poirier. Former lightweight champion Conor McGregor suffered a badly broken leg in his third bout with Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. But prior to the gruesome injury, he was struggling with Poirier's striking and grappling. In an attempt to gain an advantage, Poirier accused McGregor of cheating by holding onto his gloves to pull him into a series of upkicks. McGregor did not deny the accusation, admitting on social media that he grabbed Poirier's glove and claiming to be truly nasty in the octagon. It's unclear whether McGregor was simply boasting or confessing to his wrongdoing. Number 5. Daniel Cormier vs. Anthony Johnson. Former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier cheated before his bout with Anthony Johnson in 2017 by pushing down on a towel to trick the scale into believing he was lighter. Although he denied the accusation at the time, he finally admitted to it during his UFC Hall of Fame speech, stating that he was shocked the New York Athletic Commission didn't call him out on it. He also apologized to Johnson for the cheating. While some fans criticized his confession as a black mark on his legacy, it was still interesting to see him admit to cheating, even if it took him 5 years to do so. Despite the ongoing beef for years, Daniel Cormier expressed grief at the death of Anthony Johnson. Number 4. Michael Chandler vs. Dustin Poirier. Michael Chandler confessed cheating in the UFC and was accused by Dustin Poirier of fishhooking during their UFC 281 bout. The illegal move, which involves pulling at the cheeks or lips of an opponent, was caught on tape, but was not spotted by referee Dan Miragliotta. Poirier was quick to call out Chandler for his dirty tactics, to which the latter initially claimed that the move was unintentional. However, Chandler later admitted to having his fingers in Poirier's mouth, claiming that he was only trying to pull them out. "I did go over there to be a man of my word," Chandler said at the UFC 281 post-fight press conference. "I said, win, lose, or draw. I would shake his hand and be respectful after. And something was said. I didn't really like it, so we're still friends/enemies/whatever we are. We're not really sure what we are." Number 3. Rousimar Palhares vs. Jake Shields. The Brazilian is renowned for using dirty tactics in battle. After holding a heel hook on Mike Pierce for too long, he was fired by the UFC but never learned his lesson. In addition, he lost his WSOF welterweight championship for keeping Jake Shields in a submission for too long. But that's not the reason he's on this list. No, it's because he repeatedly raked Shields' eyes during WSOF 22, and there were no repercussions for his behavior. With his wrestling, Shields was unbeatable. Palhares attempted to nudge Shields aside with his fingertips. Despite issuing 2 warnings, the referee did nothing. After the battle, Shields was indignant and unable to see. Number 2. Jose Aldo vs. Chad Mendes. Even though Jose Aldo is considered as the best lightweight in the history, Chad Mendes came very close. Mendes, who's skilled in wrestling, attempted to take him down in the opening round. Aldo was able to stop it from happening by forcibly gripping the fence in an unauthorized manner. What if Mendes was successful in taking him down and defeating him? Aldo, though, got away with nothing. Number 1. Yoel Romero, UFC 178 vs. Tim Kennedy. Get ready, fight fans, because we're about to dive into one of the most controversial moments in UFC history. It was UFC 143, and the welterweight fight between Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit was heating up. But in between the second and third round, chaos ensued. Condit's cornermen took an extra 30 seconds to leave the octagon, and during that time, they gave him a bottle of water and placed an ice pack on his back. Diaz's corner immediately cried foul, claiming that Condit had gained an unfair advantage. The Nevada State Athletic Commission, NSAC, investigated the incident, but it only added fuel to the fire. Fans were left on the edge of their seats, wondering if justice would be served. Ultimately, Condit was declared the victor. But the controversy of Stoolgate remains to this day. When asked about it, he claimed, "When an athlete hits the opponent illegally, the opponent that gets hit gets 5 minutes of break to recover." He also said the same thing when he visited the Joe Rogan Experience podcast and mentioned he did nothing wrong in that fight. That's all for today. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. For more such videos, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll see you in the next video soon.